Hey, what's going on, guys? We'll get started in just a few minutes as soon as Steve is available. We'll add him to the call and we'll get started. If you're just logging in, we're waiting for Steve to join the call and then we'll get started. Hey, Steve, do you see that little box at the bottom with the person and a little box next to it?
Hey, what's
There,
up,
there,
Ryan?
there you are. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Hey, thanks for doing this for us. I know it was short notice, and you're always willing to help out, so I appreciate it very much. I know Jalen
Oh
does
yeah,
too.
100%.
So we'll have a few more people join us here in just a few minutes, and I'll just let you give kind of a brief introduction, of your background, and usually just the questions will just kind of pop up, in the feed, and if you want to just take them from there.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I guess, I would say that I've been in the business, actually today will mark 12 years. Um, so I've been in real estate for 12 years. I've been wholesaling passively for 6 years, and then actively for a little more than a year now.
Like,
Um,
so you started off,
and I was
as a broker, or just an agent there in Phoenix, or
Yeah, so I started off as a traditional real estate agent, and then in 2007, which was a really, really bad time, but it helped made me who I became today. And so I got into short sales, I got into foreclosures, I was listing properties for banks, kicking people out of houses. That was a lot of fun for the banks. And then eventually, I said this REO foreclosure market's gonna die. I'm gonna start figuring out how to market for myself. And so when I started marketing for myself, I said, well, how can you find sellers? Well, I got pretty good at Google pay-per-click, so I said, let me just do some Google pay-per-click to get sellers. So I started doing research, figure out how to find people on pay-per-click, and everything was we buy houses, sell my house fast. So I did that. So I made that, and it was basically for the longest time just me and Sean Terry competing on pay-per-click. It was a lot cheaper 6 years ago on Google pay-per-click.
what were you paying per click back then? Do you remember?
Boy, back then, I mean, I was probably like 12, $13 a click.
And,
And
today was it 100 and a half?
well, today it's 35 and I'm like sixth or seventh. So I don't pay more than 35 a click.
Okay.
And I'm way down on the right hand side. So I actually turned it off just because it got so darn competitive. So if you're not one of the first three, it's just not worth it. And I'm not I'm not ready to pay to be top three.
Right, right. So
So I did
so
that for the long time. Go ahead.
so you started off as an agent, and then you started advertising for the sell my house fast.
Right.
How
We
that
need to
how
get
that how
listings.
that did that just turn into wholesaling by accident?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I did that, because I figured why would anyone want to sell their house for cash when they can sell it for more? So, I was getting listings from it, and then eventually it became a few times where I was like, well, your house is worth X, and they're like, well, we want you to buy it. I said, no, you don't understand. Like, you're losing $15,000 taking a cash offer. They're like, but that's what we want. I said, okay. So I signed the contract and I actually called my wife on the way home and said, hey, I think we bought a house today. And I was offering 80% because I don't have to pay commission, and my parents have done really well, so they have money. So I was buying it with their money. So 80%, we were still making money. But after two of those, after buying the second house at 80%, I said, okay, you know what, we're doing something wrong. So we backed it. We backed it to 75%, and that's what we've been doing. That's what we were doing for the longest time. We actually just, like I said, stopped doing it this year. or yeah, this year on hanging up the white flag on pay-per-click.
Nice, nice. And
Yeah.
and you've started your podcast, the Real Estate Disruptors podcast. What got
Yep.
you involved with that? What got you involved with that?
I went to a buddy of mine, Vic, recommended that I go with him to this Dean Graziosi event. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I got nothing going on, I'll go. So when I went, I Brandon Burchard was speaking on stage, and he's like, people need to hear your story. People want to hear about you. And I'm just sitting there thinking, that's ridiculous. No, why would anyone want to hear about me? But I said, what the heck? I'm a quick action taker. I'm a fast starter. So I figured, what the heck? Let's give it a shot. So I actually today marks the 1 year anniversary of me announcing the podcast. And I said, let's just give it a shot. We'll do 10 episodes. If it sucks, it sucks. No big deal. But after the second episode, it blew up. And with Carlos Asauer, the second guest, and I think we had like 70 live views on the second episode on Facebook.
For a total of 200,000 views now, correct?
On YouTube, yeah, we have over 200,000 views on YouTube.
Wow.
It's just nuts. Totally unexpected.
Listen up, guys. We'll open up to questions to any of you guys in the group. I know Steve's time's limited, and I want to get you guys the most value, for his time. Also, we'll mention Steve's got an app. If you're there in Arizona, it's currently live, right? Your Offer Fast app.
Yep. Offer Fast Homes.
And that will eventually go into other markets, right?
Market properties. What's that?
And that'll eventually go into other markets too, as well, though, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. The plan is to go nationwide this year. So we got a couple more features that we're getting implemented. After that, we're gonna go to Texas, and then if everything goes well in Texas, then we're just gonna open up nationwide.
Gotcha. All right, guys, let's see some questions going. Marcus, I know you have some questions. So I see it's your daughter's birthday today.
Yeah, she turned 8. She's a little monster. But it's my fault, right? I created this monster.
One question I saw earlier is, are you guys doing any cold calling, or what's your main method of marketing?
I would say we're doing cold calling, RVMs, and text blasting. And I would say of the three for us, text blasting is by far the most effective.
Now, do y'all have your own software for that, or?
No, we're using TextMagic right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're using TextMagic. It's I guess it's made out in England, so it's the best.
Is it a service where you send them, one at a time, kind of, or is it a complete, blast where you blast out 1,000? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we're blasting 400 at a time. When I 400 per person. So right now it's 800. So we're blasting 800 in the morning and then 800 in the late afternoon.
Okay. So are you finding by doing them late afternoon, you're getting texts into the evening, or are they starting you off fresh with new leads in the morning?
We still get people texting slowly, but for the most part, people are if they're going to respond, they're responding pretty quick.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's been probably the best source for us.
Now, I know you've got two sides of your business. You've got the retail side as well as the wholesale side. Can you tell us a little bit about the structure of how your wholesale side, your team's built?
Yeah. So my structure is, I'm not sure I would recommend this structure in particular to anybody, but it's what's worked for me because I already had my traditional operation going. Like for the last few years, my traditional real estate team has sold 100 houses a year. So Max Jimenez, who I partnered up with him, and he runs our wholesale side. So the way we have it is I've got my traditional team and I got my wholesale team. And my wholesale team, anything that's a traditional, they'll just kick it back over to the traditional side. So if someone wants retail, then they just kick it back over. And it works for everybody because if I make money on the traditional side, I have more money to spend on the wholesale side.
I got you. Let's see, we got one. After you secure a deal from a seller, do you put a memorandum of interest every time, or how are you proceeding with that?
I do not ever. I take the back. I've recorded one because the guy got kind of wishy-washy. He kind of started acting a little funny. But generally speaking, we don't record memorandums. I understand that's a very common practice these days. There are people that are getting snaked. But for us, we're not sue happy. We don't do things to compel people. Like if you want to sell your house and we're under contract and you change your mind, like whatever. But if it's something fishy where we think someone's going around us, we'll record it. But if it's just straight up like, you know what, I no longer want to sell, like whatever, we don't really care.
Well, I think you've been in that market long enough to where you've got a good understanding of your buyers, and you're working with people that you know, and you're not having people that are going around you because of your reputation, within that market as well.
Yeah, it's funny actually. We had someone not close on us last week. They said they were making too much on it, and I am going back and forth on exactly how I'm going to let everyone know what he did. But I think one of the things that I want to do to this industry, I think 90% of the people in our industry, are trying their best, trying to do what they can. But like every other industry, there's 10% that are just idiots and screwing with people.
Right.
And I think that since I've got this benefit of this uh, audience, I want to kind of put a bit of a spotlight on that. So I do want to change a little bit about how our industry is working. And
I,
so I'm creating a little bit of a blacklist that I'm publishing.
I agree. There needs to be, some professionalism, within our industry, and
Hmm.
not just kind of a Wild West aspect of every person for
Yeah.
themselves. I had a deal just this week. It was an elderly gentleman, and I got to talking to him, and something just bells went off that he wasn't all there upstairs,
Hmm.
and he didn't have his faculties about him, and I backed away from the deal, and one of my competitors swooped in, and it was a home that had about 80,000 ARV, and they got it for 5 grand. From somebody
Mm.
that's just he was elderly, and they really took advantage. And
Yeah.
I think we have a responsibility, as professionals, to be good
Right.
stewards of our profession. You know,
Absolutely.
looks like we got a question. Cost per lead when sending your text blast. Do you have that dialed down, or is it something you're even willing to share?
Our cost per lead, we're doing a overall cost per lead. And for us, a lead is someone that we can have an actual conversation with. Not necessarily, I'm ready to sell my house, but someone that's like, yes, I'm thinking about selling my house. That's the qualification.
Sure.
Um, and for those, our cost per lead overall between text blasting, cold calling, and RVM is $33 per lead.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, so it's a blended. I don't
I'm
have
just
any.
I'm
I
I'm,
don't have any
I'm just
specifics for
looking to
that.
see if we have any other questions. One
Let's put it
question
on the
that,
next one.
one question that I did see the other day was, how are you? What's your approach when you see that we're all pretty much emailing, calling, texting the same list over and over again? What's your mindset when it comes to you know whether it's Carlos and Sal, they're probably sending the same list or calling the same list, or whether it's Alex there
Yeah,
within your market. What,
yeah,
what's your
yeah.
response? What's your response to that? I think I know already, but
We just got to be better. So I think the difference is I much love, much respect to those other guys, right? They're crushing it. They're monsters. So they just flat out have better systems than we do, and that's totally fine. So they're going what I would call the lowest hanging fruit. They're the ones that someone says, yes, I will take a cash offer. So they can make more contacts because of their massive army. However, for us, our advantage, so thank you, Tom, for this question, our competitive advantage is that I believe we're just better on the phones. So their first point of contact is a cold caller who's not buying, who's not directly, connected with us. There's a couple of layers of management in between. Our cold callers are in my office. We can hear them. We can adjust on the fly, tweak them after the call's over. Hey, remember this is how we say this thing. It's Russell Shaw is this major, stud of a real estate agent in our market for like the last 40 years. And one thing he said to me was my job as the leader, as the coach, as the mentor, is I'm the cut man. And if you guys watch boxing, the cut man is the guy that goes in there, squeezes out the blood, puts the Vaseline on the face, but gets the guy up ready for the next round and coaching him in between. It's like, hey,
sure.
you're dropping your hand, whatever. So our competitive advantage is that our guys are going to be better on the phone. When they're call when that first touch to the homeowner, our guys will be better than the cold callers that's overseas.
exactly. And it's so much of our business and marketing is just being opportunistic. That hitting that person the right day, the right time. Situations change. At the drop of a hat. I could have called
Yeah.
somebody last week that you called today, and their situations changed already.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it just it makes a huge difference.
So,
Any
and
more
I think
questions in here, guys?
if you guys watch some of my podcasts, the big thing for us is conversing with the homeowner, talking to them, making them feel heard. And it's funny, like I've learned in this past year how to get better at communicating and talking to homeowners in their homes. And what I found is that all the systems we're using for communicating effectively with homeowners also works well in talking to your wife and also works well in talking to your kids. So, um, you know, asking what and how questions. So when my daughter was like throwing a fit last night and my wife was like, upset with her, I just pulled her aside. I was like, what are you upset about? Why are you upset about it? What's going on? What do you propose we do? But I'm not pushing. I'm just letting I'm orchestrating, not facilitating, orchestrating, where I know where I want them to go, but I'm helping them get there.
Right, right. And I think Scott Oots had a good post this morning about he was in the airport and just being, conversational with homeowners
Hmm.
and not jumping immediately to, their house or even their problems. I found that, if you make people feel good, they'll feel good about you in return. And if you're a good listener and willing to, just, get to know them first before you dive into their problems, they're more, open to sharing their problems and, and
Absolutely.
and feeling comfortable with you.
So Tom's asking about mail. I haven't done any mail, Tom, for wholesale. I used to do a lot of it when I was focusing on traditional. We're not mailing now because it seems like they're getting bombarded. However, I am hearing that since everyone's going so hard in the cold calling, mail is becoming more effective again. So maybe that's something we'll give a shot.
And as far as the list you are building for your cold callers and your text blasts, do you have some specific resources you're using that you prefer over others?
We've had a lot of good luck with code violations.
Hmm.
We don't have a water shut off or utility turn off list here. That's something we still got to work on. But code violations has been great. We've had we go after everything, obviously, pre-foreclosures, tax liens, and all that. But I would say for us, the most is code violations. But what we also did recently, beginning of the year, we partnered with a couple other players in town, and we just straight up bought the entire list of Maricopa County. So that's
Oh wow.
basically Phoenix Metro. So we just bought if you bought your house more than 4 years ago, at some point we are contacting you. We haven't gone through that. We have not finished going through the whole list yet, but I mean, Jared Vidal said it well, right? Like it's great to have this list and that list, but when you've got a bunch of people calling, you're gonna call everybody. You can't
Right, right.
just laser focus because you have too many people to call or available to call.
Let's see. It looks like Marcus has a question there. Knowing you can get the sellers extremely low on their price if they are having a bad problem. Let's see here. With
So
a,
I get it, right?
yeah,
Marcus is asking like, do you want to? At which point are you taking advantage of them? And this goes back to the point you mentioned earlier, right? The person that bought a house that was 80,000 for 5,000. And so, how much is a good enough? How low is too low? I think it's kind of where Marcus is going with
sure,
this.
sure.
And and I think this is a great point because this is that dance, right? So for me, if we can make 15,000 on a wholesale, I'm pretty happy. I'm not trying to make 50. So I think this is going to be probably for each person what they feel comfortable with. But for us, if we can make 15 or 20, we're set. We're not going to try to make 50. Now, have we bought wrong and made more? Yes, we have. But the intent is our formula is 75% minus repairs. That's our formula. And
Gotcha.
if we get it at that price, great. If we get it, very rarely will we get it lower than that price.
How do you feel about going to the courthouse to get pre-foreclosures so you can be one of the first to contact them?
So in Phoenix, right now, the pre-foreclosure list is updated every single day. It was funny. I heard a tip. DeMarco Jefferson shared with me that he was able to get into that room and like take pictures on his phones of the set of the of the documents before they got recorded. So
Wow.
I thought that was pretty brilliant. So you get like a 2 3 day advantage there. But we're actually working on getting 60-day lates right now. So if we get 60-day lates, then we're not even dealing with pre-foreclosure. We're not dealing with everyone that's calling the public list. We're dealing with a list that we're not supposed to have. So we're working on that right now.
So I'll steal a page from your book. What's your most interesting failure or struggle within your business?
Oh man, most interesting failure. I wouldn't say most interesting necessarily, but I think that we've become a little humbled recently, and just coming to the realization that we're just crappy flippers. So we were buying properties that we were buying from other wholesalers. We're building up our network, and so we bought a couple of properties wrong. And I would say those are lessons that we've learned. And at this point, we will buy every property we contract. We will not cancel. So for now, the money that we have, we're going to use it for only properties that we could not sell. But the buying from other wholesalers, we're just not going to do that anymore. So that's the failures that we've learned from this year. Um, I mean, I would say there's been a lot of humbling experiences. There's no shortage of confidence for me or anyone in my operation, but I've been humbled a few times, and I think it's great to get humbled, but on top of that is learning from what humbled us.
Right, right. So, with given that most people in this group are new or have done a deal or
Mhm.
two, what advice do you have for somebody that's, just trying to break through? Maybe they've been going a couple months and haven't gotten a deal yet. What advice do you have for those people?
I think for them, if you're still struggling, I think having a good support system and having good people, like I think this Facebook group, right, is huge. Seeing the successes from the other people in here, I think that being surrounded by the people that are successful and continuing to learn. I'm personally obsessed with learning. I spent 200 grand in personal development on my own. So I think just being surrounded by the right people and staying away from people that want to, I don't want to say tear you down. You're surrounded by people that obviously do care about you, but subconsciously, they don't want you to be more successful because if you're more successful, that means they made a bad choice. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of awesome people. There's you, there's Jalen, there's Alex, there's Carlos, there's Sal, like people that generally are successful and want you to be successful. So it's out there, it's possible if you put your head down and do it. We did 10 deals in a month. We started, like I said, actively doing it April of last year, and we did 10 deals in a month. So
Oh,
if
wow.
you want to do it, it can be done, but you just have to believe in yourself, and I know the faith will wane, but if you keep at it and stay positive and surround yourself by the right people, like I said, including this Facebook group,
You,
you'll get to the other side.
it's one of those things, Steve, where I've seen people, like Alex, that it took him 9 months to get his first deal,
Hmm.
and now he's absolutely crushing it, like nobody's business.
Right.
And then I've seen people that have gotten deals right away, and they've, flamed out. You know,
They
what do
got
you think?
spoiled.
What do you think the reason is for that?
They got spoiled. So like I said, right, I started in real estate 2007. In 2008, legitimately, my IRS, what I reported to the government was a $50,000 loss, meaning I spent 50,000 more than I made in 2008.
Right.
So I've been where it hurts. I've had those fights with the wife. Like, this isn't working. You need to go get a job. So I've struggled, and I think the same thing with Alex. Okay, if you struggled, then you appreciate it. Versus if it's always been easy, you're not gonna know. Think about, and this is gonna sound really terrible, but a lot of the millennials that, and I'm not bashing the all millennials, but there's a certain percentage of them that have never seen failure, that they've always been, good job. Um, I think those people are going to have a hard time in this industry if they don't have success immediately. Or if they have success immediately, they're going to struggle when they're going to expect it to be easy. I remember in first grade, I apologize. I'm coming with a lot of stories here, but I remember in first grade, we had this, uh, I don't know, like a turkey run, whatever, but it was like a contest, and one of the games was carrying an egg on a spoon and going who can get there to the other side the fastest. So I'm 6 years old, and I cheated. I put my thumb on the egg so it wouldn't fall off, and I thought no one would know. I cheated. They disqualified me, and I still got a blue ribbon for first place, right? And I looked at the teacher and I said, "Why did I get this?" And she says, "Everyone was a winner." I said, "Okay." And after she walked away, I threw it in the trash. Like I didn't win. I cheated.
Right, right.
But it's
I'm watching you
but
if I ever get on the basketball court with you, Steve.
I'm gonna play to win for sure. But you know, it's just it started when I was a kid, and obviously I was like the cutoff of right before the millennial generation. But I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna get humbled and
Right.
learn adversity for the first time.
It looks like Marcus has a question. After all the podcasts and interviews you've done, what's some of the key things that you've taken away that you've implemented in your own business, from some of your interviewees?
So I would say definitely SMS has been the big thing. SMS, RVMs, systems, compensation structures. So how we compensate our callers. Our guys get 20% of the deal, which is more than other people are paying, but that's how we're compensating. So I say compensation is a big thing. Organization, how they're doing the intake. So even though my organization is different, I don't have an army of cold callers that feed an acquisition team. Learning how they do it gives me ideas for how I want to tweak mine. So that RVMs and text blasting, I think, are the big things. Knowing what's working for them.
Gotcha. Now you got
And then
some. Let's see. Go ahead.
Gio wants to know about how we handle tenants. So if we don't really deal with it, so we're going to wholesale it to you. If we're going to buy a property with tenants in it, we're going to wholesale it. But I don't think we've done with a year-to-year lease. We've done it on month-to-month. We haven't done it year-to-year.
And who handles dispositions for you? Do you have a dispositions guy? It looks like Tom's asking.
Yeah, so Max is primarily responsible for dispositions. So even though we're 50/50 partners, we intentionally run it lean. And the reason why we run Operation Lean is that I have a brokerage. I have 100 agents in my brokerage, over 100 agents. And I have my traditional real estate team where we have 3 agents on my team. And I love wholesale because it's a high margin, low expense business. So in every given month, I'm spending 30, 40, 50K on my traditional side. On my wholesale side, we're spending less than 7,000 a month. So,
Oh, wow.
like I said, we're running lean on purpose because I've already had those months. I mean, on the traditional side, right? Like you spent 50K and you only close 1 or 2 deals, you've lost 20,000 for the month. I don't need any more of those months. So for wholesale, this is kind of
That's hard to swallow.
my other way of doing it. Yeah. So Max handles the dispositions. It's funny, we sell a lot of deals through Instagram because he'll post an Instagram story as he's leaving the house saying, got another one locked up. And people will call him based off his Instagram stories. After that, he posts in our app. So we have the Offer Fast Homes app. We post it in there. We'll text 7 different people, depending on the property, which one we text first. They're all on Podio as well. And then we'll call them. And then after 5 days, if that doesn't work, we send it over to Jamil at Keegley, and then he takes it across the finish line. And if he can't sell, if we can't sell it, if Jamil can't sell it, then we'll buy it ourselves.
Gotcha. So you've got some killer guests lined up. I think you want to kind of plug some of those guys coming on your show.
Well, we got Kenny Caceres tomorrow, and then we got Jamil coming on again next week, and then we've got Haim, we've got Chris the Shark, we got Nick and Octavius out in LA, Gary Taravan in LA. Haim is the one I'm really excited about because I mean, the guy's traveling the world while wholesaling.
He definitely lives the life, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, he was in Israel for 2 weeks, right? Just hanging out with his kids. So
Haim lives that lifestyle we all set for ourselves, but we never we always get too busy in our business. He does it. You know, he goes out
Yeah,
and lives and experiences the world with his family. That's
he's
great.
got, he's got the life that I want. So that's the one I'm probably most excited about. But there's just like Chris the Shark is a monster. I mean, like I said, Kenny tomorrow, he's a beast as well.
Looks like Marcus has one
So
more. Right?
Marcus, yeah, we don't pay a base. We used to pay a draw, but no, there's no base. It's just 20% of the fee. So if we make 20K on it, then they get 4K. So you can very quickly make, 80K, or you can pretty easily make 80K, 100K on our team with no risk.
Excellent. Well, you know, if we don't have any more questions, I know you're busy, and I've got some things to do as well. I appreciate you coming on. I know Jalen, you know, wanted to express his thanks for having you on. I just got a
Yeah,
message from him a few minutes ago. But I think I'll leave the interviewing to you and Jalen. You guys are much better at it than I
yeah, Jalen's. I mean, what a breath of fresh air. Like when I was hanging out with him, I didn't know what to expect because he's got this personality, on Instagram and YouTube. So you don't know what to expect. But hanging out with him, he's just the same exact person.
am.
An
He's a
awesome
great
guy.
person. You know, I truly treasure my friendship with him. He's a great guy. As are you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm still looking forward. Still looking forward for you coming out.
We'll figure it out sometime.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Steve. And guys, if you're not following Steve, I highly suggest you do. His podcast is amazing. It's my favorite, to be honest with you. And
Oh,
go ahead.
real quick, forgot. So our workshop is going to be in a few weeks. May
What's date?
25th in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So May
How,
25th in Phoenix, we're pretty close to sold out. So I don't know if anyone's
how
interested,
can they
but
reach out? How can they reach out to you on that, Steve?
they can just go to disruptorworkshop.com. You can check it out there, disruptorworkshop.com. We only got 10 spots left, and we don't want to make it big. We want to make it small on purpose. But I'm just gonna go for a whole day, just help someone basically copy my entire system. So
Wow.
bring your laptop, and we're gonna have my blueprint when they leave. So
Definitely check that out, guys. And you know, like I said, you know, show Steve some love. You know, give him some hearts, some thumbs up in here, and you know, go follow him on Facebook and check out his podcast. And if you're in Arizona, get that app right away, and it's coming to other markets too.
awesome. Thank you very much, Brian.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I appreciate you.
Bye.